unless you don't like this presentation. And that fact, I am Scott Goddard, so make sure you fill out the survey afterwards. And like some of the other speakers, I do not have a giveaway either, but I can offer you maybe a jail or get out of free jail thing today. If anybody gets stopped, just say you were at the Crow Wing County Sheriff's Office presentation on scams. No, don't do that. My wife is the only one who does that. So I only have 15 minutes to talk about this, but like he had said, real quick show of hands if you're comfortable. Is anyone familiar with what he just opened up with regarding the phone calls, the emails, the unsolicited contacts? If we're honest, we probably all have. And if I were to also ask who has fallen victim to some type of a scam, statistically, there's probably a couple of you in here that have fallen victim to a scam or at least started the potential of being a victim of a scam. So that's what we're here to talk about today. If you look at these statistics real quick, only 1 in 44 cases of, we call it financial abuse, this is from the federal government, this statistic, is reported to law enforcement. That's a problem, and we see this a lot with the elderly population, and not just with scams, but when somebody needs help, they sometimes feel like they're bothering us, or they might be too embarrassed to report it to us, whether it's the sheriff's office or your local police department. But I'm here to tell you, we need to know if you get scammed. Hopefully nobody ever does. Don't be embarrassed by it, because you would be amazed at the amount of people that do fall victim, because like you said, sir, these people are very cunning. They're very persuasive. They're charismatic. They sound legitimate. They send you an email and you clicked on something. Next thing you know, they're in your computer. They're doing all kinds of bad things. Or maybe it's that phone call. I don't know who this is. And all of a sudden, hi, I'm from, pick your agency, pick your government, your grandson, granddaughter, whoever is in trouble and they need you to send them money. We see that a lot. In fact, there was one case I was talking to the officers earlier about. We had a $70,000 victim earlier this year in Crow Wing County who sent $70,000 in cash, small amounts, over a period of time. I don't have $70,000 lying around. I'm a public servant. That's a lot of money. And this person was out of that money because they befell one of these scams that sounded legitimate. They thought their grandson was in trouble overseas and was sending money incrementally, and the bank finally caught onto it and said, wait a minute, there's something going on, alerted us, and then that's how things started from there. So please report those things if you do fall victim. Hopefully you don't, but if you do, please let us know. I throw this slide, I think it's a good slide, and this is this goes back to 2014, this particular slide, but look at the upward trend that we're going to see here, shiny object, with our elderly population. We're in the year 2020, 21, I guess. But look at that upward trend. And the reason I think this is a good slide is you saw the statistic earlier of how many people have fallen victim to different scams. Well, that number is only going to increase because this is a multi-billion-dollar illicit business worldwide. And what I mean by that is people make their living overseas, in this country, by scamming people like you, like me. The only way we put them out of business is to report it, be diligent on the types of phone calls we answer, the kind of information that we give out when somebody asks for that. If you get a phone call and say, hi, I'm from the IRS, I need your social security number, I need your whatever, that should raise a red flag. The federal government is not going to call you by telephone and say, give me all your private personal data over the phone. But what scammers do is they feed on your emotion of fear, right? When people think they are in trouble, what do we try and generally do as human beings is we try to mitigate that, right? So they become overly cooperative, and that's what scammers bank on, is your element of fear. And then once you're in it, you lose all sense of reality, and next thing you know, you're out thousands of dollars. So how does it occur? Probably the most common way that I have seen is over the phone. or email would probably be second, maybe a close tie first and second. Has anybody gotten that email that says, hi, I'm, King so-and-so from such and such country, glad to meet you, click this link. Or maybe you get a thing from Amazon, because we all buy online, it seems nowadays. That's a common scam that I see, is somebody clicks a link within an email that looks legitimate. But if you look at the address that the email comes from, or if it doesn't sound right, you should delete it or report it as a phishing. But at minimum, don't give them information and ask somebody else, hey, can you look at this email before I act upon it? Tell me your opinion, does it sound legitimate or not? Generally, they're illegitimate, so be careful with that statistic. Computer, I've seen this as well, where somebody, again, we're here for the Expo. Elderly folks fall victim to this with the computers. I have a problem with my computer. I clicked on a link that created a virus that all of a sudden it turns into maybe ransomware or some other thing, or I let somebody into my computer. They said they could fix it by phone, and all of a sudden they're in and they're manipulating your computer and they're stealing data left and right. And next thing you know, your phone number, social security number, address, your firstborn, all this kind of stuff is out on what we call the black market, and it's being sold as we sit here today. That's how you get all these weird phone calls, these weird emails. They have your information. I'm no different. I work in law enforcement, and I get fished all the time with different scams and things like that. So be cautious. That old saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. We've heard that, right? It's true, more true than nowadays than probably ever before. If it seems too good to be true, like, hey, you won $10 million, we just need you to send us $25,000 to collect your winnings. Does that sound legitimate? No. So be cognizant of those kinds of things. Before I got here, I ran a statistic for just Crow Wing County, year-to-date 2021. Every agency in Crow Wing County, Brainerd, Baxter, Cross Lake, Sheriff's Office, we have just shy of 500 reported scams just to our office. Now, if that statistic earlier, 1 in 40 is reported, how many scams do you think are really out there that we don't even know about? That's a pretty good business. You can sit somewhere and scam people out of money. Send me a gift card, wire me money, send me a check, send me cash. If anybody ever says, send me cash in the mail, I was always taught, you never send cash in the mail, right? But people do it because they are on the fear element. They don't want to be in trouble, or they're on the emotional. My granddaughter, grandson, son, daughter, whoever it is somewhere and they are in trouble, and I need to send this person money because they're maybe extorting or sounding like they're extorting the person. It's not a legitimate thing. Don't fall victim to those kinds of things. Keep going here. You can just read those real quick. Do any of those statements sound familiar that you see up on the screen? Whether you've seen it in email generally, or you get a flyer in the mail, and they're passing out some of this. You can take home the flyers if you'd like to review some of that for later. But these are some of the things that you're going to see. Fake charities. You've won money. Send us money. On the computer. This is a common one I've seen as well. Veterans have fallen victim to this hugely. I mean, I'm not talking about elderly veterans. I'm talking about fresh out of deployments and things. They fall victim, and I've seen elderly, to online dating type stuff. We get, some female or male from another part of the country or the world even saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and they become acquainted on the internet. Next thing you know, the person is sending a lot of money over there to say, hey, I want this person from Russia, the Ukraine, wherever it is in the world to come to the United States, so I'm going to continue to fish money over to them. And in the end, they're out a whole lot of money. They're embarrassed. They won't come and tell their family, friends, anything like that because they don't want people to know. But I've seen this more often than you would believe in my time in law enforcement, especially within the last handful of years. So these are things, again, they prey on our emotions. Be aware of that. the phone calls and the people who show up at your door. The door-to-door stuff is not as big of a problem as it used to, although we do have people show up at the door, especially after storms, things like that, say, hey, prepay me a bunch of money, and then lo and behold, they never show back up. That does happen, but the electronic, the telephone, things like that happen way more often than the door-to-door. My best advice, if you take anything out of this presentation today, is don't answer a phone number that you don't know. Okay, most of us have a cell phone and we plug people's numbers into our phones. It says, oh, hey, Bob's calling, or Sally, or whoever it is. But if there's some weird number and it's a 218 area code, you're like, oh, it must be somebody I know, I'll answer it. There's ways they can scam you. Number one, they realize, hey, there's a real person on the other end of the phone, but there are ways that they can scam you through that, whether it's getting a hold of your phone and taking control of it. The safest thing you can do. Hello? Oh. If you can not answer those and just let them go to voicemail, because I always look at this, and I'm in law enforcement, I get a lot of phone calls from different people throughout time. If it is truly somebody who needs to talk to me, they're going to leave a voicemail. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, that's Bob or Sally. I know who that is. I'll call them back. Same thing with an email. Too good to be true. Let it go. Don't respond. Don't click on things within emails. That's a dangerous thing to get into, and that's even on your phone. It doesn't have to be your computer at home. Your phone, a lot of us check our email that way, Facebook, things like that. Be careful what you are clicking on and remain safe. And last thing, include your family, daughters, sons, relatives, neighbors, whatever, and use them. Say, does this look legitimate to you? Use those people to help you out because they care about you, right? So that's all I have today. I think they're going to coat hook me off here, and I appreciate the time. And you can always go out there and do your own research and things. Last one thing I wanted to bring up too. Everybody in the room, you are entitled to a free credit report every year, and I strongly recommend that you do that. You go online, Minnesota Attorney General, it'll get you a website, it'll get you pointed in there. It's free, doesn't hurt your credit. But you would be surprised how many people find things. I have an open credit, or somebody opened something in my name that you didn't know anything about. And next thing you know, they're thousands and thousands of dollars in debt and their credit is trashed. So take advantage of that. Make sure you scan that and keep yourself safe.
Andy, quick question. Do they ever catch these guys? I mean, you remember they say follow the money. Where does it go? Are they able to track them down?
Yep, real good question. The short answer is we don't track a lot of them down, but we can't track them down or even start to try unless we know it. And it's a jigsaw puzzle, right? Your little piece is part of the overall bigger picture. So the more we know, the easier it is, not necessarily for us locally as law enforcement to track these folks down. The FBI and certain federal organizations have a lot of task forces that take our data, funnel it in, and then they say, oh, here's what the jigsaw looks like. Now we know who's doing this.
Thanks, Andy. Let's give him another round of applause.